Thanks everyone for coming. Obviously we'll move to footy in a minute, but I'd like to introduce Thomas, who will tell you a little bit about his story and his journey to be with us today. Had a really tough start to life, and he'll fill you in on that in a minute. But this really is what this day's about, and why North Melbourne's fought to play this game for such a long period of time, and something we want to build into a real tradition on the AFL calendar. So please give your attention to Thomas.
When I was born, at 5 days old, I had to go from intensive care over to the paediatric section at the Royal Children's Hospital to go through a 12-hour surgery to fix multiple problems with my heart. I had transposition of the great vessels, which caused all the blood to just circulate through my body and not to be oxygenated again. And the only reason that I was able to survive till now is because I had a hole in my heart which was able to be patched. I also had a thinning in my aorta which had to be cut out and fixed. Till this day there's been no other problem with it, and all I'll have to do is be monitored for the rest of my life and then be lucky to have the best paediatric surgeons in the world.
I think you'd like to thank some of those surgeons.
I'd like to thank Dr. Weintraub, who's been seeing me every 12 months just to go through, check it, make sure nothing's failed or gone wrong with the surgery, and I'd like to thank my parents for being able to take me in and support me through all of the trouble that's caused.
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, so again, just before we get to footy, we were on the wrong side of the ledger this time last year in a close loss, but we're really privileged to be part of this game, and I just said to the players, it gives us all real perspective. We live in a really competitive, high-pressured environment, which has a lot of highs and lows. But I think it's really important, in particular, for the players to have real gratitude for the opportunity they have to do what they do, because a lot of other kids like Thomas, through no fault of their own, they're born into circumstances, and so we're really lucky to be able to contribute in a very small way to the great work they do at the Royal Children's Hospital. So we're really hopeful that everyone will give generously, and this is a game that we can build into a really significant tradition on the AFL calendar.
Thomas, what do you think of North's performance, mate?
Great.
After quarter time?
How impressive was that?
Yeah, it was the most pleasing thing from our aspect was our consistent effort. We clearly didn't have the polish early that we would have liked, but the hardest thing in footy, in my view, is to do enough to generate shots. I mean, the kicking goals is clearly a really important part of the game, but I mean, it's a better problem to have than not being able to generate shots in the first place. So the four-quarter effort was fantastic, and to be able to accelerate away at the end was really pleasing.
Did you sense before the game at all that the boys were up? I mean, you went in unchanged after heavy conditions last week, which might have surprised some considering the toll it might have taken on the players, but they ran out the game really hard and really didn't have many flat patches during the game at all.
No, we were really confident that our sports science medical team had got the guys in really good shape. We had a really light week on the track, but it was sharp, and I think you just get a sense that we're only in round 2, so it's not as if we're carrying the bumps and bruises of a long season as well. So if there's a time to have a 6-day break and come back from Cairns, it's early in the season, and all the guys pulled up really well, which is a credit again to our sports science team.
In at half-time, given it was pretty obviously not a great standard in the first half?
Yeah, I think I understand probably the way it looked. I mean, if we were finishing, and St Kilda for that matter, if we were both finishing better, the game probably would look like a great spectacle. You do, but I mean, coaching, you look at all the build-up to that and all the things that you're doing, and I thought that we didn't need to change too much in terms of of the structure. Jed Anderson gave us real impetus at the start of the game in the first half, but I thought the start of the third quarter he really got us going, and then everyone got on board. So we didn't change much, to be honest. We just thought that we've just got to persist and make sure we can keep generating those shots.
What does a win like that so early in this season, given it's such a young group? I mean, from a confidence point of view, is that pretty important?
Yeah, reward for effort's always important. When you keep getting effort without the result, it's very difficult for your players to keep believing that what they're doing will eventually lead to success. And we faced that challenge last year, staring down the barrel of 0-5. Even though I thought our effort was really good, but it's hard to stand in front of them and say, look, persist. The tide will turn. We're clearly building with the generation of our list, but if we keep getting that sort of effort and that sort of effort in the contest, then I think we can be competitive against most teams.
Contested footy, I think you're plus 30 odd. How important was that?
Yeah, it was huge, and I think the most important thing was the spread. We've left a lot to too few in the past, and while our good players were still really good in that area of the game, I mentioned Jed Anderson, but we were able to get other guys through the midfield. I thought Luke Davies-Uniacke showed that he's going to be a very, very good player. I, more than anyone, have tried to hose down expectation and hype around Luke, but the way he played today, the way he tackled, his composure under pressure, and we threw him in. We threw him in against a midfield of real class in guys like Jack Stephen and Seb Ross and David Armitage, and he acquitted himself really well for a second game player.
What went into the thinking behind tagging Seb Ross ahead of Jack Stephen? I'm
just sort of thinking what I want to say publicly about that. Clearly a lot went into it, a lot of thought, because you look at St Kilda, Jack Stephen's just such a damaging player and gets the ball and kicks goals, but we think on balance that Seb Ross is an extremely underrated player in the competition. He slipped under the radar and he accumulates the ball and he links St Kilda up really well. And the style of footy they play, we just felt that he was crucial to that.
Speaking of underrated, do you think Ben Brown is underrated from an external point of view?
Yeah, I think he is, because you probably look at the players his age who are emerging in the competition and they're regarded as potential superstars, whereas Brownie, he's pretty close to sort of being one of the dominant key forwards in the competition already, even at his age. So, and last year we were concerned about him getting double teamed and copying the opposition's best defender every week, and that's happened again. It happened last year, and it's going to happen again, and he keeps rising to the occasion.
How important was Jared Waite to being that foil to him tonight? I think he took 13 marks in the end.
Yeah, we were really strong as a club. That we had significant turnover on our list over the last couple of years. Everyone's well aware of that, but we were really conscious that to aid the development of some of our young key forwards and key backs, that Jared Waite and Scott Thompson were going to be really important to support them while they're developing. And so, to their credit, Wadey and Scott Thompson were fantastic today, but they've played an even more important role on the training track and off-field in helping to develop our young key forwards and backs.
Just on Ben Jacobs, how big a factor is it having him back in the team and having someone you can just throw on a dominant player from the opposition?
Yeah. We tried to clone him last year when he was injured, and we probably asked a lot of some players who just weren't ready for that challenge, and there are not many players who are as dogged and competitive as Ben is, and he's also physically equipped to do it. He's a terrific athlete, so it's certainly easier for us, and it changes the mix of our midfield dramatically.
It's on Good Friday. Dogs last year, Saints today. Would you like to lock in an opponent, or are you happy to rotate how you play every year?
No, I think that as long as we're part of it, we'll play whoever the AFL match us up against. But I must mention that there's been a lot of build up to this game, even going back 4-6 weeks in terms of launching the Good Friday appeal, and St Kilda have been outstanding. They were at every function. They were heavily involved in the Good Friday appeal. They embraced the game. They didn't just say, well, it's North Melbourne's game and we'll play. They really got behind it. The run for the kids. So if the AFL fixture them in the Good Friday game next year, they've certainly deserved that.
Thanks, Will.
We got 3 votes, Thomas.
Who was our best player? Always go with the captain, mate. Zeebs.
Yeah, Jack Siebel.
All right. Thanks.